Dragalge is a pretty weird dude. It's low ranked in usage, but it does have an interesting little stat spread with nice special bulk, and some special offense that is honestly slept on when you factor in its ability, adaptability. The extra damage on same type attacks goes crazy, and with its pretty rare poison dragon typing, this actually allows it to fully melt some stuff with hard-hitting Draco Meteors. It's got Sludge Wave for amazing secondary stab damage, along with a multitude of coverage options in like Thunderbolt, Scald, or Focus Blast. We throw on an Assault Vest, and with max HP investment, this bad boy takes 0 damage from special attacks. We sponge him up and fire back some adaptability damage, and honestly, Dragalge is an unexpected threat. Alright, look, Dragalge's got a bunch going for it. First of all, Buddy looks badass. It hits way harder than you'd imagine, it's got good bulk, and honestly it fits extremely well on a lot of different team builds. What also seems to fit pretty well is that mouse cursor over the subscribe button if you're into some weird Pokemon stuff. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the match. Alright, so my opponent is going to go ahead and lead off with the Raikou. Now, first of all, I imagine this thing's probably going to just Volt Switch out of here, get some good damage. I also have a chance to see if it's going to be like Choice Specs or something along those lines. So, as I lead off with the Registeel, I'm just a doorknob who's actually physically defensive, and as they do have the Aura Sphere coverage, that actually, that does kind of hurt as I just kind of lay down my Stealth Rock. The good thing is I can actually tell that that is not Choice Specs damage just based off of it not doing over half to me. So at this point I imagine either they stay in and just go for another Aura Sphere, or they try some crazy shenanigans kind of expecting a switch. Now I'm actually just going to go for the Earthquake because I really would love a little bit of chip damage on this Raikou. This saber-toothed bastard is kind of the guy that it never dies when you expect it to. So that Earthquake chip is actually going to be super valuable. That puts it in range for a lot of things, including like a Dragalge Draco Meteor. So as they Aura Sphere once again, I imagine they're probably just going to go for that again. And guess what? Dragalge walls a lot of stuff, especially on the special side. So I'm going to bring in Mr. the old Seahorse, and if they want an Aura Sphere, that is just going to heal us. So go for that Aura Sphere. It of course does nothing, and now we're actually in a pretty decent position with Dragalge here. So they're actually going to end up going for that Volt Switch. It of course we absorb that, and at this point they can bring in whatever they want. However, Dragalge actually has pretty good offensive coverage here. Now, their defensive answer is actually going to end up being the Wheezing. So they bring in the nice little pair of deformed Disco Balls, and it also is going to be neutralizing gas, which is important to know because now adaptability is turned off, and as I go for that Sludge Wave, it's not going to do much. But this is actually, and it's an interesting matchup here because I'm not necessarily worried about what, the Wheezing's going to be able to do to me. Also, hitting this thing on the special side I'm going to be way better off with that. So I just decided to go for that Draco Meteor. Does a nice little chunk, and as they fire off a Gyro Ball, I, am not very fast. So it actually doesn't do very much, and that's pretty solid. One benefit of being a freaking slow Seahorse. We're just relying on the damn, ocean current to move our asses around. So we're not very fast, but one more Draco Meteor is going to take care of Wheezing. And that's really nice. So defensive Wheezing out of the way. Dragalge actually looks really good in this late game to just apply a lot of pressure and just do some big damage. So as they decide to bring in the Blastoise, one thing I'm worried about is of course Shell Smash. That's pretty much what every damn Blastoise does. And as this thing's even more pissed off in this Gen 9 animation, he looks menacing over there. But as I decide to bring in the Lurantis here, I know that if they Shell Smashed, I probably have a chance to live an Ice Beam, and they actually just go straight for that Ice Beam, which is fine by me. They are going to Ice Beam twice. As I kind of expected a switch, I know that they don't really see the kill there. I go for the knockoff, just expecting a switch. But they actually stay in, and it ends up knocking off a Choice Scarf. So color my ass bamboozled. I have not seen it. The Scarf Blastoise is crazy. But it actually, he's kind of, I mess with it. So they're going to be able to finish me off with another Ice Beam, and I basically, waste my Disco Pants, which is not ideal. However, at this point, I have the Revenge Switch in, and I can actually just bring right back in Dragalge. Looks great defensively. Obviously, I'm weak to an Ice Beam, but that's not going to do very much through the Assault Vest. And then a Draco Meteor actually should kill, so that's what I'm working toward here. They are going to stay in with that Ice Beam, and it just bounces off us once again, and we just going full tank out here, fire off the Draco Meteor after just taking the super effective hit, and that, with that adaptability, is going to be enough to kill the Blastoise, which is honestly pretty damn sweet. So at this point now they can bring in the Charizard, and this thing is going to obviously take half from the Stealth Rock, and then the Citrus Berry animation just doesn't go through, but we do see it. So here's the thing, Citrus Berry Charizard means one thing to me. That means that definitely Belly Drum, and You know, I've been messing around with the Belly Drum Charizard myself. I know that an Earthquake is probably coming here as they don't really have the opportunity to go for that Belly Drum, but it's still actually a scary physical Charizard. So I decided to bring in Pelipper, and Toilet Bird's just floating above it. We say, yeah, that's not happening today, Mr. Bellyzard. So, you know, we have the benefit of the rain on our side. I also know that I should be able to take any attack from this thing. And it's time to just throw some Weather Balls around here. So they are actually going to end up busting out the Terra. They're going to pull out the Terra Flying, which likely means they're just going to go for a nice little boosted Acrobatics. They've used up the Citrus Berry. Pretty hard hitting, except for the fact that Pelipper is, you know, built for situations like this, baby. We got a bunch of HP in that big-ass Toilet Bill, and we take that no problem, which also allows us to fire off the Weather Ball, and even through the, you know, just neutral hit over super effective, it is going to actually grab the kill, and that's why we run Weather Ball out here. In the rain, that shit hurts, and that's going to be a dead Charizard. So what's also super important about that is they lose their Terra. Defensively, that's going to open the door a lot for Dragalge, and I'm thinking, all right, let's go. Algae Seahorse is going to be kind of my late game win con here. As they bring in Raikou, of course, I'm kind of just back against the wall. I decided to let the Pelipper go down. It doesn't have much business in the rest of this match. So that is going to kill Pelipper, but once again, it's going to open the door for the Seahorse. Now, I imagine unless this thing has, what, like extra sensory coverage, Dragalge eats anything. And I'm just like going to just, I can fire off a Sludge Wave here because what they've got left is going to be that Rillaboom along with a Clefable. So Dragalge is able to freely take a Thunderbolt. They want just as much stab damage as possible. Doesn't do much, and then a Sludge Wave takes care of it. We don't have to go for that Draco Meteor. And now they've got the two Mons left. So first of all, Rillaboom can come in safely. And one bad thing is, you know, we don't deal with physical attacks super well. And of course, you know, a grass attack we can live. What we cannot is going to be something like a knockoff. So expecting them to go for that knockoff, I'm actually going to bring in Registeel. Once again, I'm fully physically defensive, and I'm actually thinking that maybe, you know, I come in, I can take it no problem, I soak up a little bit of their grassy terrain, and then the only thing they really have to hit me with, again, is going to be that neutral knockoff. So as they go for that, going to bring me down to 26. It is, of course, going to get rid of my leftovers, so with my apple on the ground, we're not going to heal up as much. But after a little bit of grassy heals, I'm thinking, what is he really going to do? Let's be real here. They go for another knockoff, and it kills me with a crit. So, you know, there goes Doorknob just being a damn paperweight once again, and just dies, you know, for no reason there. So it's actually coming down to a really interesting kind of late game here, as Clefable in the back is quite scary. I do want to conserve the Dragalge for it, but at this point, honestly, Swanna looks good. That's probably a sentence that no one's ever said before. However, Swanna looks great against the Rillaboom, because in the rain, I can go for that accurate Hurricane. The animation actually doesn't play, but I assure you, there was a Category 5 Hurricane that just destroys the Rillaboom, and that's real nice, because now we've got ourselves basically the matchup we're looking for versus the Clefable. All I really need to do is, you know, let Swanna do some damage. I likely die if they've got like any type of, you know, Thunderbolt coverage, but all I want to really do is just get as much damage as possible before I go down, and then I can leave the game to the Dragalge. So I go for the Surf. Now, boosted in the rain, that does a little bit more than a Hurricane would, and they take it decently, but now they fire off a Thunder Wave. Well, you know, we're allergic as hell to electricity. Luckily, that doesn't hurt us, and we're just flapping a little slower out here. So, seeing as they didn't just T-Bolt, I kind of am thinking that they obviously just don't have it. I can try to get Swanna to finish the game. If I can grab myself another Surf here, we are in the money, and Swanna is helpful. Once again, not usually, but it might be today. So I go for that. We actually get paralyzed, of course, because of course we do. The game could have been just over right there, but now things are getting a whole lot more interesting, because they're actually going to pull out the Moonlight, and yeah, the buddy just soaks up some moon rays, and now just all the way back to full, which is making it a whole lot more scary. One thing I am worried about at this point would be potential for Calm Mind Clefable. That would not be ideal. I do have a physical Hatterene back there, but that's for another story. But I mean, you know, if I do need to hit on the physical side, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So I go for another Surf. Without my Rain, not going to hurt nearly as much, and now they actually decide to go for the Stealth Rock. So looking at this thing's moveset, we've seen the Thunder Wave, we've seen the Moonlight, and Stealth Rock. So surely this thing's final move slot is just going to be something like some stab option in, I'm thinking, probably Moonblast, which, you know, I could potentially bring Dragalge in on, but then this thing just outspeeds me, and then it kills me with a second one. So I'm actually kind of, you know, back against the wall with the Swan here, thinking I need to at least let Swanna go down before I can bring in the Dragalge. And them setting up that Stealth Rock makes it so then I'm like, I might not actually even live a Moonblast. And this, of course, this chewed-ass bubblegum looking bastard is always just so annoying. So I do get off another Surf there as I break through the paralysis. And as they fire off a Moonblast, we do see their final move slot, but it actually doesn't end up knocking me out, which, you know, is kind of fine because now I've got another shot to just bust out another Surf. I'm thinking, hey, I can grab myself a crit and get the hell out of here. I do break through, but it is, of course, gonna live, and as I kill myself with the Life Orb, their obvious play is just gonna be to go for another Moonlight, not Blast. He's got all sorts of moon nonsense, but they go for that Moonlight, and yeah, it's gonna bring them up to relatively healthy. So now we've got ourselves in actually a very interesting matchup here. While I know they can't do much offensively to Haydunn, I can't really do much to it either unless I get up Swords Dances, and yeah, again, that Haydunn's for another day, don't worry. But guess what's happening today? Dragalge in the moment comes in. I do take that Stealth Rock chip, brings me down to red, and that's not super great because I know this thing's gonna outspeed me because I'm slow as hell, but as they go for that Moonblast, check this out. I live it with 1 HP, which is actually the most clutch thing ever. Assault Vest Dragalge is the GOAT. I then fire off the adaptability boosted Sludge Wave, and that kills the Clefable. And that is the greatest ending for the Dragalge. I did not expect to live that, but that was actually insane. And that's going to be the end of that one. So, of course, that's going to bring us into game number 2, because first of all, Dragalge is sweet, and second of all, we want a little bit more action because we got some fun nonsense. So a little bit of a team switch up here. We are working with some once again total nonsense, and we've got a pretty scary team over there. So with that, let's go ahead. Let's get into it. All right. So my opponent this time is actually going to end up leading off with the Dragonite. Now I have myself a Quagsire, and first of all, Dragonite lead tells me, okay, this thing, they're going to try to get some value out of this thing early, meaning they're probably going to go for that Dragon Dance, and I sadly am actually Water Absorb over Unaware. So they are going to go for that turn 1 Dragon Dance, and Quagsire's like, well, we are in danger. Now, luckily I am physically defensive, so I can take a Dragon Claw, or at least 2 of them here, or maybe, depending on how many Dragon Dances they want to set up, but I just let up my Stealth Rock, and we're just here to have a good time. So, I know that obviously I don't have anything that can touch this thing, but main thing is I want to break this thing's multi-scale. Getting a little bit of damage here is going to make it a whole lot easier to deal with, and they decide they're going all in on the Dragonite early. They go for a second Dragon Dance, and I'm just like, I'm just going to Toxic you. Okay? Quagsire, being one of the dudes that actually did retain access to Toxic, is actually pretty nice, because now, while, you know, Dragon Dancing fella is quite scary, we do at least put it on a timer, and we get to see, you know, if we can break through this thing. So at this point, of course, I still cannot touch this unless it wants to go for a Terra Normal and an Extreme Speed. I can Earthquake it, but for now, I basically am just going to take a Dragon Claw. +2, fully defensive Quagsire actually eats that, and then I can fire off a little Spike. So, you know, if we can get through the Dragonite, we're going to be positioned pretty well in terms of having Stealth Rock, a layer of Spikes, and, you know, after some Toxic, it's going to start to stack up here. Now, in the back, I do have some form of priority, but it's going to be not super crazy. So, they do go for another Dragon Claw, take some more Rocky Helmet, which is fantastic, and down goes Quagsire at the cost of, you know, at least making Dragonite manageable. Now, the Toxic stacking up to the point where if I can just get a little bit of chip here, surely it's going to die to that next Toxic damage, but also I've got a Banette, which honestly works pretty well against Dragonite here because it can't go for an Extreme Speed, which is a lot of the time what it's going to do. So it's forced to go for a regular attack. I can Sucker Punch thinking that that's going to kill, and it doesn't. Of course, it lives it with literally 1 HP, and then a Dragon Claw kills me, and while I do lose 2 months to this Dragonite, luckily at least the Toxic is going to finish the job for us. So that was a little bit scary. Did not get swept by the turn 1 Dragonite, luckily. And I've got ourselves an empty-ass battlefield where we can switch into kind of whatever we want. So this team is, again, it's weird. I've got a bunch of stuff that I'm trying to do with it. Main thing is kind of Belly Drum Charizard. I'm going to go right into the Charizard here as they actually bring in the Dragalge. And this is kind of a mon that I can set up against, you know, depending on what it wants to do. It does take a lot from the entry hazard, which is great. And guess what? My ass is just going to go straight for the Belly Drum. I know that I can at least get that off, and then after Citrus Berry, be healthy enough to take an attack. Then it kind of just comes down to what they want to have, you know, for like some priority. And with the mons they have in the back, this Zard is probably not going to be able to pull off a crazy sweep, but I want to at least try to see what I can get going. If you want to see some Belly Drum Charizard action, you come to the right place, because I actually did upload a recent video about the fella. Now, as I go for the Earthquake, they actually don't go for a Shadow Sneak, which is fantastic, so an Earthquake takes care of it, and it doesn't actually feel super great, because now I'm just vulnerable to an Aqua Jet from this damn Easter Bunny thing, and Azumarill has kind of just harshened the Charizard vibes out here. So yeah, I'm definitely not healthy enough to even go for a Terra and be able to live it, so I'm just going to let it happen. They do go for that Aqua Jet. Down goes the Charizard, and now, just like that, I'm kind of running pretty low on options here. So with what I've got left, which is some complete and utter just weirdos, I'm gonna bring in the Persian first. So this is a technician Persian who's supposed to be here to like nasty plot and then just do some stuff with like stab swift, which I thought would just be hilarious, but it's actually not that funny when you realize it can't do much. So I go for the nasty plot first just to see, I'm gonna need some type of momentum if I want to get through the rest of their squad. So thinking maybe that I can get a swap out there. They actually stay in, and they also have the coverage with freaking superpower, which is, you know, it sucks because while it doesn't kill me, it does way more, and then they can finish me with an Aqua Jet. But the good thing is they actually drop their attack with that superpower. So now I'm kind of free to bring in the Dragalge. And as they go for that Aqua Jet, it basically is just a free swap in here. So now I actually do have the coverage with that Sludge Wave, and it's time to see if what we can get to happen with the Dragalge here. So first of all, they are going to swap out. They have the attack drop, and they don't have much they can do to me. So they want to bring in the Venusaur here. And first of all, after the spikes and the Stealth Rock, I'm thinking, hey, a Sludge Wave actually might kill here, but it is not enough to kill it. So it does live because Venusaur's fat ass just doesn't die. And at this point, we know it's going to be faster. If it's a physical Venusaur with Earthquake, I'm in trouble, but they actually end up going for the Leech Seed. Tells me they probably don't have, they're probably like Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb, and that's pretty good when you're a Dragalge because I get Leech Seeded and then I just kill it with a Sludge Wave, which is nice because now they don't take any of my health from that Leech Seed just because there's nothing over on that side. And as they have a couple of scary mons left, it's time to see what the dragon's made of. So first of all, they're bringing King Gambit. It is going to be Supreme Overlord. It's got an air balloon, and I am frightened because I don't have much here for it. So I decided to go for the Focus Blast, and they actually do not Sucker Punch. Opens the door for the blast to just do its damn thing. 4 times effective. We do not miss the Focus Blast, which is insane. And that just straight up takes care of the King Gambit, which is like, oh my god, hold on a second. Dragalge is about to pull it home for us, baby. But we've still got some work cut out for us because of this damn thing. And, you know, Great Tusk is bad when you're just allergic to ground. But here's the thing. It comes in, it gets a Photosynthesis boost. It is going to boost attack. And while I know an Earthquake is coming, I've got just the thing for the job. I'm going to pull out the Terra Flying. And hopefully we can bait that Earthquake because an adaptability boosted Draco Meteor actually kills Great Tusk in one hit easily. So I pull out the balloons. I say, you know what, you want to have a little birthday party out here. They are going to go for that Earthquake, which is insane. And that's going to open the door for a Draco Meteor. Luckily does not miss. That would have been a horrible miss, but it connects. And that kills the Great Tusk. So all of a sudden, Dragalge has turned the game around for us, which honestly, I did not expect. It's more of a utility switch-in mon than anything, but actually sometimes it turns out it can be the star of the damn show. So now, all they've got left is going to be the freaking Azumarill. So it's us versus the Azumarill, and I'm actually in a great spot because I can go for another Sludge Wave, even after the special attack drop takes care of the bunny, and the Dragalge just completely clutches it out for us. So that's going to be the end of the game, and do not sleep on the damn Poison Seahorse. This thing is actually the GOAT, and that was actually pretty fun. So thank you guys very much for watching. As always, the support is greatly appreciated, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.